Hey everyone, welcome to Shifty's Club. Today I want to talk about the Heart Gold Soul Silver-on rotation we have for Nationals and some good rogue decks to use. I've had a lot of email complaints about using a black screen on my videos and putting pictures of cards on it, plus my voice wasn't loud enough. First off, if you have no idea which decks are popular, you can search The J-Wits, all one word, on YouTube, and he'll give you an idea about popular decks for Nationals. You'll just have to scroll down and find his episode that he talks about them. I think it's called Top 10 Decks for Nats. Um, but enough of the technicalities, let's start. Ever since the alert that we might be getting a Heart Gold Silver-on rotation, I've been testing almost every card and format into appropriate decks, yet only 3 stood out and 5 others followed. One of the 5 followers is Scizor Prime Electro Prime. Scizor Prime has a Poke Body that prevents all damage done to it by any Pokemon with special energy cards attached to it. And its attack for 1 metal and 1 colorless does 30 damage plus 20 more for each metal energy attached to them. Electro Prime has a power that says that you can knock them out and look at the top 7 cards of your deck and attach as many energy cards as you wish to your Pokemon in play and discard the other cards. Electro's other attack isn't too important, seeing how you don't run electric type energy in this deck. It's definitely not expected due to mass outbreak of inboard, yet could set up fast enough to trash a few rounds. If you're looking for energy acceleration with some sort of lock, you should definitely give it a look. Second of the 5 followers is Crobat Prime and Darkrai Cresselia Legend. Crobat Prime's first attack for 1 psychic energy basically put your opponent poison condition, and they put 4 damage counters instead of 1 between turns. Its second attack does, for 1 psychic energy, 30 damage to any one of your opponent's Pokemon in play, so that's pretty good. Darkrai Cresselia Legends what makes this deck unique and compatible. Its only attack that you should be concerned about is Moon's Invite for 1 psychic energy. You can move around your opponent's damage counters any way you like. It's pretty simple. Quadruple poison 1 attack, 30 damage snipe for the other, and DCL's Moon Invite to move around the damage counters, but the kicker is that all 3 of these require only 1, yes, only 1 psychic energy. It's hard to defend and even harder to beat. The third of the followers is Steelix Prime, Blissey Prime with Attack, Kling Klang, and Pocky and Dialga Legend. Steelix Prime has a Poke Body that keeps them from being affected by special conditions. And I'll go ahead and announce all the powers and bodies and abilities before doing the attacks, because this is probably the most important stuff. Blissey Prime's power allows you to heal all damage counters from all of your Pokemon, but discard any energy cards attached to the Pokemon that you move damage counters from. Kling Klang's ability lets you move around metal energy as often as you want to any of your Pokemon you have in play. Steelix Prime has 2 attacks, one that you use very rare, and the other one's what you use on a consistent basis. First attack, you don't use hardly ever. 1 double colorless for 30, and you search your discard pile for an energy card and attach it to Steelix Prime. Its second attack for 2 metal and 3 colorless does 100 damage and discard any stadium card in play. Blissey's 3 colorless for 60 strength attack isn't nothing to worry about, and we're not even going to talk about Kling Klang's attack. Pocky and Dialga Legend's attack, however, for 2 metal energy and 1 colorless, allows you to discard all metal energy attached to PDL or Pocky Dialga Legend for those of you who don't know the abbreviations, and lets you put the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck as prize cards. And it's pretty good, I'd say. The way this works is to tank with Steelix, heal Blissey Prime, of course, and take all the energy away. What we do is use Kling Klang to move them around. If you come to time, pull out PDL and use time control. And this way, your opponent can't come back. Even Rayquaza Deoxys Legend can't defeat you without serious boost in luck. Fourth of the followers is the Omega Prime Noctowl. Your Mega Prime is a body that says that its energy cost is 0 if both players have the same number of cards in their hand. Now, it has one attack, the Sonic Boom, and you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon to do 40 damage to it. Or another attack that does 70 damage and is not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects. Now, I'm not going to go on for the energy cost because you never usually have energy attached to it, but there's a problem. If your hand's not equal, then it doesn't work. Well, I think I found the perfect partner for it. Noctowl from Heart Gold Soul Silver uses its power to basically draw a card, and for each Noctowl you have in play, you can activate this power. You don't have to, but its attack gives it pretty much all the hope in the world. If you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, it does 40 damage plus 40 more for 3 colorless. Not free attack like Mega, but Noctowl does have some potential in case you need that extra 10 damage from Noctowl's attack that you wouldn't get on Mega's attack. Usually it won't ever come to that, but you never know what could happen. It seemed weird at first, and I was very skeptical about it, Mega, but I found the best partner for it, so Mega Noctowl just uses the same synergy by depending on whether your opponent's hands to be the same. Mega getting the free energy cost, and Noctowl try to keep your hand the same. It's a weird combo, but still, I managed to make it work. The fifth of the followers is my favorite, Illumise Volbeat. Illumise has one attack, and it's the only one you should really be worried about. It's Vulcan Beat, if I'm not badly wrong. I think that's what it's called. It might be Illumise, I'm not sure. I think it's Vulcan Beat, though. And for 1 grass energy, you flip a coin for each of your Volbeat in play, and it does 30 damage times the number of heads. I know not too many players like to flip coins, but this is pretty much a very, very cool T1 if you can flip the heads. Volbeat is basically used just its own bench, but if you need to snipe 30 on the bench for 1 energy, pull up Volbeat. As long as you have an Illumise in play, you can attach that 1 grass energy and do 30 damage to any bench Pokemon you want. I think it's pretty cool. My nephew runs this deck, and he uses a 4/4 line with 2 Celebi Prime and 2 Heracross. Also uses 4 Collector and 4 Doughball, and he destroys everyone at League, and he's only 7, so it's a pretty good deck. Now for the 3 standouts. First is Grumpig. I freaking love Grumpig. Grumpig's first attack is a Power Lock that does 20 damage for a Psychic and a Colorless, so it's basically Gardevoir, only slightly edgy. It's kind of the exact same regarding the energy cost and the damage, but in its second attack, we'll talk about later because I think it's save all the drama. It's a killer against Machamp and power locking standout. If you remember Gardevoir Gallade from 3 years ago, not last year's Worlds, but when it was popular, Gardevoir took 1 Psychic and 2 Colorless for 60 damage and Power Lock. Grumpig does the same, but for only 20 damage, but 1 less Colorless energy. But Grumpig has something Gardevoir didn't, and that's a heavy hit attack. Gardevoir relied on Gallade for that reason, and Grumpig, however, has both. Its bench manipulation attack for 1 Psychic and 2 Colorless does 40 damage times the number of tails your opponent flips off of coins for each of their bench Pokemon. So pretty much your opponent has to flip a coin for each of their bench Pokemon for each tail that does 40 damage to the defending Pokemon, which is pretty good. Your opponent probably already hates flipping coins, but make them hate flipping coins even more. There's 3 cards that work very well in this deck. The first one is Xatu, self-explanatory. Only its first attack is usable, and it's for 1 Psychic it does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to the fitting Pokemon. Great against energy acceleration, nothing said. The second is Umbreon. Umbreon from Undaunted has an attack that requires 1 darkness energy, does 30 damage, and prevent all effects and attacks, including damage done Umbreon by your opponent's Pokemon when any Pokepowers or Pokebodies during the next turn, which is pretty cool because it extends the synergy throughout a different edge. And I pretty much like how it splits the synergy in half. the last but still works pretty good is Volplume. Since Grumpig is stage 1, it's easier to set up many of them early, and then you can set up Volplume in the process. So now you've got Power Lock and Trainer Lock. Volplume, the only reason you use it is to let it sit on the bench and use its Poke Body, which says each player cannot play any trainers from their hand. The second of the three is probably the best. Typhlosion Prime with Deoxys Legend. I'm very thorough about this deck because it takes no explanation at all. Typhlosion has a power that's used on a consistent basis and an attack used until you get Deoxys Legend set up. Its power, Afterburner, lets you search your discard pile for a fire energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon and put a damage counter on them. Then its attack does, for 2 fire and a colorless, 70 damage, plus you get to choose if you want to discard an energy attached to Typhlosion. Usually you will, and then force your opponent to discard because you're just getting it right back and put it on Typhlosion Prime, or you can attach it to RDL later. Either way you want, it's pretty much set down strategy. Deoxys Legend has 2 very unique things about it. One is its attack. For 2 fire, 1 lightning, and 1 colorless does 150 damage, and you discard all fire energy attached to it. This is where Typhlosion Prime comes in play. Now, its body is what makes it the done deal. If Deoxys Legend knocks out one of the opponent Pokemon, you take 1 extra prize card. Not 2 prizes, but 1 extra prize card. I think Jay Wood's messed that up on his show. No offense to him because he's a really good, knowledgeable player, but REL really isn't that much of a rogue deck, but played with only Typhlosion Prime and no Embo or Ninetales period, it's pretty rogue, but I mean it sets up fast and it gives you a heavy Typhlosion line. You can set them up really fast and get RDL out fast and usually win 7-8 turns. I use 4 Giraffe. You might not want to, just to go ahead and get the energy and get moving. I usually win 7-8 turns with the Giraffe. Without him, it took me like 10 to 12 turns. But Giraffe really helped. And last but certainly not least is just straight up Metagross from Unleashed. Metagross has 2 attacks and 1 amazing body. Its first attack for a double colorless does 60 damage straight out. Its second attack for 3 psychic lets you choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and does 40 damage to them. But the most amazing part is that it has a Pokebody that says if your active Pokemon has any psychic energy attached to it, the retreat cost for that Pokemon is 0. That is amazing, seeing how Metagross can be set up as 4 of them, and you can pretty much play 2 or even 3 at the same time. When one gets heavily damaged, just free retreat it, Seeker, bring it up, and reattach everything back down. By that time, you should have a pretty good party, and you shouldn't be getting any prizes taken from you. You should be pretty much trashing everybody. I like this deck, but to me, it just wasn't cut out to be anything against decks like Zekrom, but we'll work on that later. What I did in my Metagross was to make up for everything that Metagross can't do, is I put 4 Seeker, 4 Super Scoop Up, 4 Junk Arm, and plenty of potions and Life Herbs. It works very well. Just remember that this deck works better with only Collector, no Dual Ball. Well, I guess that's it for Rogue Talk. Next episode, I'll talk about the aftermath of Nats. If you haven't already noticed, I talk about next episode as if you watch only video game episodes or only TCG episodes. Sorry for any confusion. Next episode, I'll talk about the aftermath of Nats. If I get to go to Nats, which I hope I do, I'll talk about what I done, what I ran, how I did, what everyone else did, and any standout rogue decks that I really seen, which is usually never the case. It's usually only Worlds, but if I don't get to go, I'll research everything, talk to a bunch of people, but hopefully I'll get to go to but if I don't, I promise to get you an episode about the aftermath of Nats next time at Shifty's Club.